Alright. The immigration Siddhartha was talking about was not Asian, but the same logic of contamination applied, and potentially more so to them than the perceived white immigrants. As historian Yuji Achioka explains that, and I'm paraphrasing, at this time, Japanese immigrants lacked a voice. They shared quite a bit of the struggle with European immigrants, but every European immigrant had the right of the naturalization law at the time. Anyways, end quote. I guess I must agree, this centered discrimination of the Japanese might be the lingering attitude that put them in concentration camps to begin with, but only needed Pearl Harbor incident as the excuse to indiscriminate against them. Another historical court case that comes to mind is the United States versus Thind in the 1920s, which was a little different, as he was of Indian descent. Scientifically, or in the lore, he fit the bill as white geographically. This sort of made the system panic. The Supreme Court had a question lingering over its head. Is a high caste Indian a white person? With his intuition that his origins counted as white, and having served in the U.S. military for 6 months, Thind was confident citizenship would be granted. And like Ozawa, his court case was representing his Indian demographic across the nation. The court admitted with scathing attitude, paraphrasing, quote, "The blonde Scandinavian and brown Hindu might have connections in dim origins, but there is profound difference today," end quote. The court lifting off its ignorant mask just to backpedal to state, quote, "Caucasian is merely a conventional term," taking this argument away from Thind that the word is vague because to, quote, unscientific-minded people, the word was against the demographic they wanted, and the court says it manipulates the standing on what white means. As Thind's case was falling apart, it was a testament to the court covering their own bigotry up by claiming Thind was the one making it about race. The court ruling with, quote, "What we now hold is that the words free white persons are words of common speech to the understanding in accordance with the understanding of the common man," end quote, and compares the word Caucasian to be synonymous with the term, quote, "free white person." The term understanding of the common man was a type of legal taxonomy, as Ian Henry Lopez, a law professor in his book White by Law, explains. In the fallout of Thind's loss, the federal government began assaulting Indian citizenship. America denaturalized over 60 individuals between the times of 1932 and 1927. Of course, suicide ensued. One person, Vaisho Das Bagai, was once a citizen in 1915 until this federal move on his personhood. In his suicide note, he wrote, "They come to me and say I am no longer an American citizen. What have I made of myself and my children? We cannot exercise our rights. We cannot leave this country. Humility and insults. Who is responsible for all this? Obstacles this way, blockades that way, and the bridge is burned behind," end quote. I have mixed opinions if this ironically circles back to returning to the Varna like old times as an untouchable, or getting the same twisted treatment, though even as technically white person and labeled high caste, he had no chance at all.